going on, DJ Nation? Kenny Kim here, bringing you another Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast this week for my favorite event, the best sporting event in sports, the Ryder Cup. As usual, I am here with everybody's favorite Canadian, Tyler Tamboline. Tyler, are you ready for this week? I know you don't have like a, you're not in the United States, you're not from Europe. How do you Canadians feel about this event?
You know me, I always say, Kenny, I'm living vicariously through my American friends. So
Okay.
It is what it is. We'll talk about it when we get to it, of course, as well. But it's not the President's Cup. Last time we got this hyped up was a good week. We actually shipped that week, got the job done at the President's Cup. You and I were high. I don't know if you did, but the team, the coinciding team here, we loved some internationals. I went back and listened to that pod today just to get a recap of what we were talking about, see if I could remember some things, spark it, that could help us here for this week. So this is going to be a good show. We're going to break it all down for you guys. We have pricing. We know, the captain pricing. We know some of that stuff. We've got some of the stuff we've seen them out at the course together. We don't have the exact pairings yet. We'll get those. You'll have to wait to make your lineups as long as possible. But before we get into it, Kenny, we want to talk to everyone very quickly. New sponsor, the Nation, the DJ Nation, Ship It Nation collaboration. We're going to come together. This show is now brought to you and presented by ShipItNation.com. You can use promo code Mayo. Get yourself 10% off any of the monthly packages. There's a monthly, 6-month. Check it all out. You guys can see it there. There's a trial if you just want to get in and check it out for that. But projections, ownership, tools, rankings. You got NFL, NBA, MLB, PGA, MMA, all kinds of sports going on. And get in the Discord. I know I'm going to try and get my guy Kenny Kim into the Discord too. But lots of good stuff going on at ShipItNation.com. You guys can check it out. If you sign up now, you also get a free 4-hour course that Hoop and myself recorded where we talk all things NFL DFS process, live finals, showdown, all things like that. That course comes for free. And this is the week 4 anniversary of Hoop winning the Millie Maker last year for a cool $1 million up top. So Kenny, new sponsor we're bringing in the year with. We'll talk more as we go throughout the show, but thoughts on that, and then we can hop into this Ryder Cup.
Straight, man. I'm happy for you. You're starting this company on your own. I know it's hard work. I know you're going through a lot of shit. You're busy as fuck with shows every day, multiple shows every day. So, everyone, if you're a fan of Tyler, go check out Ship It Nation. Do your thing, DJ Nation. Now, you can see that I'm sort of wearing my golf gear. That definitely wasn't on purpose. I just got back from my first lesson since in like 30 years. The goal is to break 80. By next year. I think I've shot like 84. I shot 81 like 6 times, but that was like 15, 20 years ago. So it's been a while. I went to my first lesson today and they took video, used a TrackMan. And what I realized is I have no idea how I've been hitting the ball as well as I have, which sucks, for all the years, because my swing is, holy shit, it's ugly. Like, I mean, once you see your swing on video, you're like, really? How do I hit balls? Like, how do any of my balls go forward? I don't understand. So I went ahead. They got a deal over at Golf Galaxy across the street from my house. 10 lessons for $400. I want to just go ahead and do it. Probably take me all winter to get those lessons in, but I'm going to break fucking 80 next year. That's going to be the goal.
What are you shooting right now, Kenny? Like, I know you said that was 15 years ago.
So the problem, this year has been my worst year. I've played more this year than any other year in my life. I've played probably 30 rounds this year already. And I've only broken 80 twice. I've broken 90 twice. Like, usually, like, half my rounds are in the 80s, half my rounds are in the mid-90s. Like, I didn't break 100, like, for like a three-round stretch. Like, something was just totally off on my swing. And so, I went to the lesson, old Larry over there at Golf Galaxy. He hooked it up with some lessons, basically telling me your swing is shit. You need to fucking fix it. So either I can do a deep dive or we can just play angles, which is not going to fix your swing, but you'll hit it towards the center more. I was like, give me the whole shebang. Give me the whole thing. So this is going to be a long, drawn out thing. It was a struggle today. Try to break the swing that you've had, because about 12 years ago, I made a conscious decision to get rid of my slice. I didn't want to be a slicer anymore. I watched a lot of Dustin Johnson back then. He was hitting that nice right to left baby draw. Now he hits a slice, of course. But I was like, I want to be like DJ. And so I was like, let me do everything I can to get rid of it. And it worked. I started hitting a draw. And, the draw started becoming, a hook. And then the hook started becoming a pull hook, which is what's happening now. And so a lot of it has to do with my grip. A lot of it has to do with my hand positions. And the biggest part is I'm so fat and unflexible that my biggest problem is my hips. You know how what's his face says it's all in the hips. That's fucking true. And basically I'm swinging with all my upper body. And so hopefully I get that fixed. And then we get that done. But enough about that. Let's do a little tiny recap of what we missed while we're gone the last couple of weeks. First, Bryson won the live event. JT played really, really well. I don't even remember who won the Fortnite. Who won the Fortnite? Do you remember?
No, I forget.
I don't remember either. It's football season. But I do remember JT played pretty fucking well.
I'll remember as soon as we pull it up. Tigala, man, we got to know.
There we go. That's right.
I remember this. Yes, Tigala. His dad out there having the best time.
Oh, God, Team Tigala. That was great. That is right. See, I mean, the problem is, you know, my memory is not great. So I don't remember stuff from like 3 hours ago.
It's not bad. I just move on to the next thing. That's what it is. Right now, I'm so hyper-focused on Ryder Cup. I'm hyper-focused on NFL, family, things like that. So just goes out of your mind.
But that's not the only event. We had the Solon Cup. It was a 14-14 draw. Of course, the Europeans retained the cup. And, you know, a little bit worried because what we saw in that team competition was a United States team and a European team where like the top 8 or top 9, pretty freaking even. Maybe top 8, top 7, pretty even. But then the Europeans had like 2 women, I don't even remember their names, outside the top 120. And one of those women, the Swede, I forget her name, she was 5 down or 3 down with 6 left, right? At the Solon Cup in the singles match. And she ends up winning 5 of the next 6 holes to win 2 up against one of, you know, the stalwart Americans out there. That's the type of stuff that we could see in this team competition. Just people that you did not expect to do well go out there when you're playing for your country, when you're playing for pride like this. Different types of your personality comes out. You know, some people, they shrink. You know, the Rory, they shrink a little bit when it comes down. Well, when it comes down to these team competitions, you know what I'm saying? As good of a player as Rory McIlroy, the best player in the world the last decade plus. There's no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt in anyone's mind. You all know I don't like him, but he has been the best player in the world for the last 10, 12 years. There's no doubt about that. But he has been average, below average, you know, at the Ryder Cup. You know, 50% point percentage. Not great. By Rory. And then there's some people who come out here who don't really play that well during stroke play and stuff like that. And then when they get to this event, they just all of a sudden become Superman, Ian Poulter. You know, you see these different angles coming from different golfers. And that's why this tournament is great, because you really don't know what to expect. You know, you saw how Rory was the last event, and, you know, it took him a while for the Ryder Cup to actually mean something for him. And I guess for the last one, you know, you could tell it started meaning a lot. These team competitions, you said it before, is like, whatever. Now that he's gotten older, he realizes these are pretty important shits. It's been, you know, outside of majors, this might be the second biggest thing for his legacy. You know, when it comes down to the Ryder Cup and winning these events. And you saw, you know, crying Rory, which made me extremely happy to see him, you know, crying on TV at the last Ryder Cup. But I mean, you know, this course, depending on how they set it up, which is, we'll talk about this because it's different this year. It's not the American Bombers going out there and the plotters on the European side, where they're going to make the course 7-inch thick rough and the fairways are, you know, extremely tight. They're going to be tight. But we'll see how this rough actually plays out, and we'll talk more about this as we go on. Anything else you want to add before we actually get into the gusto?
No, it was a good recap. So just a quick note for the pod, and for everybody that asks out there about the Listener League. No Listener League for this week, but it will be back starting next week. We will round out our season during the fall swing, the swing season here, and at the Sony Open, will be when we host the Tournament of Champions. There'll be a bunch of prizes, cash, giveaways, things like that. Get some other people to hop in and do their thing. So it's going to be good. But for anybody that was asking or didn't understand it, now's your chance to win it. Not this week because we don't have one. The Mayo Open is out there. Get in it. $15, 3 max, no rake. You can check that out on his videos on this Mayo Media Network channel. But just to note, the Tournament of Champions is anybody who wins a listener league all year. And yes, that includes in the fall swing when somebody, it might start out at 300 or 500 people in the group, where that's what our GPP is for that week. So if you hop in that and you win it, you are still in the Tournament of Champions, and it's all the winners of the entire season will play together at the Sony Open. I think last year we did top 5, got prizes, and I think we did top 5. And then to make it exciting, I think this year we could add something like last place. See if anyone wants to play for last place. It has to be like a minimum threshold or something just to have some fun with it, but just screw around a little bit. But I think in the end, it'll be top 5 is probably what we're going to do. We'll have some fun free rolls and stuff like that throughout the season. But this is going to be a good year ahead, Kenny, so I'm excited. Just want to get that note out there on the Listener League, though, before we move on.
Sounds good. Going back one more thing. I did forget one thing. One of the most amazing parts of the Solheim Cup that I watched was the Spanish women. They're playing in Spain, and this is how quickly a match can turn at a team competition, which is why I love these events so much. I think her name is Saganda, right? She's a Spanish lady from Spain, and they were playing in Spain. She went ahead and shanked a shot on 15 to go 1 down. I think on Nelly Corda. I'm not 100% sure who she was playing against. It might have been Corda. I'm not sure. Shanks a shot, loses the 15th hole, goes down 1, and then hits to her next 2 approaches, both inside 5 feet. To go from shank to on the 15th hole to hitting it within 5 feet on back-to-back approach shots. That's the type of stuff that you go down in history as a fucking legend. You know? I mean, she's a fucking legend now because of that. Like, she will never have to buy a drink at a golf course in the country of Spain ever again for the rest of her life. And that's why I love these events so much. They don't win no fucking money. They don't, I mean, maybe they get something, a stipend. I don't even know. But they're doing this for love of country and love of the game. And to see athletes perform at their peak under this amount of pressure, there's nothing better in sports. Absolutely nothing better in sports than what we're going to see this week, and let's fucking get to it. So, first thing we're going to start off with for the Ryder Cup, let's just go over a couple of the, let's just go over the course. We'll go over the course, we'll go over strategy, we'll go over how the points work, and then we'll go over the players. So let's start off with the course. First off, in this type of event, the course matters way less than your normal 156-man, 70-man, whatever event. At a regular tour stop, the golfers are really playing the course more than the man. So that's why, every week I pull out that course preview. It's important shit. You pay attention to it. You learn what type of golfers you want on that course. You go ahead, you win money. This shit's a lot different, okay? Now, in Ryder Cup play, I think it's the exact opposite. The main thing about, you're playing the man. You're not playing the course. Now, the main thing about Marco Simone is that the fairways are going to be tight. And unlike most PGA Tour courses where approach game is by far the most important stat, playing the ball off the tee is probably going to be more important here. Some have said this course reminds them of PGA National. Some have said Bay Hill, right? When you think about that, back in the day, before, a lot of the European golfers, they would come and they would start on the Florida swing. They would start at the Honda Classic, then move on to Bay Hill. And the Europeans have tended to dominate those events. Slightly worried about that, because if this is like PGA National and Bay Hill, I mean, like Rory's won there, Hatton's been up there, Fleetwood's been up there, Rahm's been up there. I mean, these guys have all played these courses great. Lowry's had a couple top 5s up in that bitch. You know what I'm saying? And so another factor with the Europeans is like every single one of these Europeans have played this course before. Like 6 of them have finished like top 10. 2 of them have won. a DP World Tour event at this course. Højgaard and
Bobby Mack,
both have won here, right? And the funny thing is, I don't know, we'll keep going. We'll talk about more.
And Bobby Mack, I think, was a playoff with Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, against Fitzpatrick, right? And so the fairways are narrow, a ton of water on the course, and missing fairways are going to lead to trouble. Now, how much trouble? We don't really know yet, since the home team gets to set up the course to suit them. Now, this year, a little bit different than most when it comes to the strengths of each team. Usually, Team USA is filled with bombers. Team Europe, more accurate off the tee. Plotters. That's what we've seen throughout the years. Almost throughout the whole history of the Ryder Cup. That is what we've seen from these two teams. That's not the case this year. The Euros are actually overall a bit longer than the Americans off the tee with the driver, and the Americans overall slightly more accurate off the tee than the Europeans. Now, from what I've seen so far, this is Tuesday evening is when we're doing this pod. The rough looks super thick and heavy, but there have been some rumors that the Euros are going to cut some of the rough, like maybe make it 2 levels, where if you miss by like 5 to 10 yards in that first cut of rough, it's not going to be that bad. And that's the thing, like the guys who miss on the European side don't miss as wildly as the bombers on the American side. So lots of stuff to think about when you go over this. Now, looking back at the winners here on the DP World Tour, there was Maroc. He was top 35 in driving accuracy, but Højgaard and Bobby Mack also won here. They were either near or outside the top 100 in driving accuracy when they won here. Now, of course, the rough probably wasn't as thick as it's going to be this week, but we don't know actually how thick the rough is going to be. So that's something we're going to have to check out as the week goes on. Now, again, team events are way different than stroke play. So stats somewhat take a back seat at these type of events. Gamesmanship like this is, the norm at the Ryder Cup. I've heard some crazy shit that's already happened this week. Like the Euros have placed different yardage markers all over the course, and they are the only ones to know which ones are legit and which ones are fake. Like, they're doing like little shit like that to throw the United States off their game. And that's pretty normal stuff that we see in these team competitions. Now, when it comes to what golfers will need to be successful, the first thing is going to be strong off the tee play. Second is going to be putting, especially from 5 to 10 feet and 10 to 15 feet. The only problem, once again, with looking at too many stats for this event is the fact that this isn't stroke play. And no one knows exactly how these golfers are going to handle the pressure. Tambo, let's go over, what are you looking for in golfers this week? And let's go over strategy, because, of course, that's going to be the most important part. Before we do that, let's go over the point system. That'll make it easier. So the point system is going to be a little bit different for DFS this week. The DK has the captain spot now. So the golfer you choose in this spot will be 1.5 times more expensive than his original DK price and receive 1.5 times more points. Now, every hole, one will be 3 points. Every hole half, 0.75 points. Every hole lost, minus 0.75. Winning a match gets you 5 points. There's also bonus points for holes not played, no holes lost, and 3 consecutive holes won. Tamo, what are you doing strategy-wise when it comes to this? How are you going to build your lineups? Who do you have? How are you going to go about the captain spot? All that good stuff. Let's hear it from the master.
Yeah, I think that's the key. This is the week where you get this if you play any other DFS sports, but football, you stack it up. You get your quarterback, you're stacking it, running it back, you're making everything make sense. You go and play baseball, DFS, MLB, you're doing the same thing. Give me some 4 or 5 bats from this team, couple bats over here, a one-off and a pitcher. You can do that. In golf, you don't have to get a chance to do that. And this is the spot that we do get to do it. Kenny talked about it earlier with the President's Cup, had success there last year, have done well in the match play events, things like that, where you can just finally have a strategy that goes with it. So this week, look, this is an edutainment pod. We entertain you. Kenny does. I should say, I try and educate, get you better. Just like with DFS, try and make you a better DFS player. The main thing is, though, All that stuff, Kenny, is that's what it's for this week. It's just that. I don't care about someone's singles record. I don't care about their Ryder Cup record. I don't care if they've won at Simone before or played well here or it sets up well for them or stats models. All this stuff, they're all good. They all made the Ryder Cup team. There was extremely tough choices made to leave guys off. You talked about Moronk. He won at this course before and didn't get on the team. He was disappointed. There's other guys. Keegan Bradley plays very well. Could fit this course. Didn't get on the team. All these factors. So to me, it's all game theory. It's all correlation. It's all building out. So we're going to give a good idea of that. I think we did a great job at the President's Cup when we're going to talk about what these potential pairings could be, what that looks like, how you could do it, because we have the pricing. So we can imagine stuff based off of the information we have, the pricing at hand, how we need to build and strategize. But the main thing for me, Kenny, is going to be just that. It's a matter of who do we think is going to play the most matches? Who do we think is going to win said matches? What does the strategy look like? You and I were talking pre-show, for example. I only really see this thing playing out two ways. There's 3 ways it could play out, but the 2 ways I see it playing out are it's close all the way. So there's going to be a good mixture of guys in there and getting wins and taking things down and all that stuff. Or I think the Europeans blow the Americans out. That's how I see it. Funny enough, I actually like the Americans here. I just think it's them winning in a close battle. That's my call. But I'm saying I don't see a world where, like, at the President's Cup, we're like, can you fit 6 of these guys in? Like, let me jam every American possible in. The difference there was they were priced for that position. They were priced for the blowout that was likely to ensue, and that's what ended up happening, and that's where that was a different strategy than this. A lot of the strategy pieces, though, still the same, and so we'll talk about when we get in there, but the obvious of, like, the X Cantlays, the JT Speeds, which I actually think we have some interesting stuff on. We'll talk about when we get there. All these guys that lost their partners, right? Rory basically never has a partner anymore. Rom, no partner, no Sergio. Kawa played with DJ last time out here. Like, little things like that where you can kind of speculate a little further, but we will have to wait until we get the groups. But everything I'm doing, Kenny, I can promise you, is based on game theory, correlation, and almost like Showdown in NFL or something where there's a game script and you're putting it together and basing it off of that, of if this team crushes, these 4 guys likely play a bunch together. Well, there's 4 guys going into my lineup, and then how does the other 2 spots look? And then you're moving pieces around. But last thing I'll say, a couple more strategy pieces quickly, Kenny. One, we talked about this last time, and this is from last Ryder Cup. I brought it up at President's Cup, but the Ryder Cup with DJ and Kawa, everyone knows that if they play together, they get the same points. It doesn't matter if Kawa carries the weight load or DJ carries it. In that example, this year it could be X Cantlay. It doesn't matter. But what happened with DJ Kawa that year is everyone thought they were going to play the whole way together, and then, whatever happens in their singles match, they actually didn't end up playing. It was like 5 matches, 4. DJ, everyone put Kawa in the captain as the cheaper guy than DJ because, it's the same points. Who cares? But you actually ended up needing DJ in the captain. DJ crushed and played an extra session and crushed in the singles. So it was like Kawa is actually not. So your strategy, all those lineups were dead from that happening. Matches played mattered more than the wins because you still score in losses. You just got to be out there.
Well, here's the thing about what you're just talking about, like the chalk way to go. Here's the thing. Don't make your lineups until Thursday when the pairings come out, because that's going to give you the view of whoever plays in the first round. Those are the ones that are those are the only ones that can play 5 matches, right? And that's what you want. You want as many people on your team that can play 5 or 4 matches. That's going to be your goal. That's what you got to look. And again, a lot of it's an educated guess, but you have an idea after you see the pairings announced Thursday afternoon. So hold off on your lineups. Wait until then. The next point of strategy is exactly what you were saying. The chalk way to make your lineups with the captain's pick is, looking at the pairings and using the cheap guy as your captain's pick. Okay, that is going to be the chalky way. And like you said, we do not know, and more than likely, if someone is going to sit out a round, it's probably going to be the cheaper guy. You know what I'm saying? Because they are just not at the skill level as the guys.
They're not Scotty, they're not Rory, they're not Rom, they're not Cantlay. Like you said,
exactly.
The Cantlay X one is interesting. I'll let you continue, but I just want to bring that up after. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So I think a way to be different just from the break, looking at these, is instead of going with the cheapest guy as your captain's pick of the pairing, go with the guy who's more expensive. Now, that does cause issues with the rest of your lineup, but, you can finagle it well because there are some value plays down below that you can use to fill out your lineup, because it goes down to like $4,000 or something like that. So it's definitely possible to go that way. Like other strategy tidbits that you could use. I mean, that's probably the biggest one that I could think of. But, why don't you go on, Tim? Anything else you want to add to the strategy conversation, or should we just go straight to what we saw today in the practice rounds?
Well, we'll just say one more thing, because you mentioned like the 4K guy, like Bobby Mack or something. Like everyone knows here, let's say it's Bobby Mack, it's Straka. Harmon's a bit of a wild card. I actually could see him play a little bit more, but let's just use Bobby Mack, Straka, Højgaard, like guys like that, because they're, newer or whatever else it might be, even though they have these records. Like you said, Højgaard and Bobby Mack actually won at this course in 2021, 2022, but here nor there when you get down to all the other options on the team. But the point would be, if you do have a blowout of one side, like let's say you load it up with that, those guys can come into play because you need the massive scores of those other groups. And that's what happened at the President's Cup. I know it's not the same. There's actually even more matches there, the 5 and 5. Like, it's different. But just to say it, like X Cantlay, JT Spieth absolutely smashed where you just needed those scores. And the only way to fit them in those scores and get the big captain score was to have a guy like on my roster was Munoz, who actually only played 3 of the 5 and didn't even do the greatest. But because he did good in his singles and got a lot of points there, and because you needed those 4 huge scores, you can get away with that, where I think a lot of people shy away. And this, lastly, is just a definite week. You want to have as many lineups as possible. So whatever your bankroll is, I think I'm not going to say it's bad. I just don't, for me, it's not how I would do it. But some people have $100 this week and say, I just want to punt off $100. I'm just going to throw a lineup in the $100 single entry. I would actually try and find, like, how can you spend that $100 and get the most lineups possible to just get more angles in? Because even if you get it right in the $100, you probably choose a safe approach or something like that, you're just so likely to be duped or just get crushed by other people that have more line. I mean, and that's a single entry, so I can't say that. But I guess my point would be, you're probably going to err on the side of caution when you're just throwing a lineup in. Oh, this is what they said. It sounds good. You're going to be with the group think. It's not that other people have more lineups to beat you with. It's a single entry, but they're going to just be willing to take more risk or understand that if this is what everybody else is doing, they're putting in the time, I'm going to do this instead to try and beat the field. And that's going to have leverage up on you. So it's just something I would say, I would try and have more lineups with your bankroll. Just separate it that way.
I'm not playing cash, so I'm going straight GPP in here. That's the way I'm going to play this week. So no cornerstones, no nothing like that. I'm going to play like 50 or 60 lineups this week in the 5-0. That's what I'm going to do. Throw it in there, throw in like 50 or 60, call it a day. Honestly, like when it comes down to the Ryder Cup, like, okay, here's the thing about doing what I've done for the last decade. What it has done for me is when I watch golf, like I don't even have a favorite golfer anymore. Like, okay, granted, like Bryson used to be one and Koepka and DJ, but they're on live. I don't even get to see them. So like I really don't even have like a favorite golfer. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that, I'm gambling every week and I'm rooting for somebody different each and every week. And it sort of takes a little bit of the joy out of watching the game. But, those are, the concessions you make when you gamble, right? I mean, you're going to pick one or the other, love of the game or love of money. And I love money. So, that's just the way it goes. And it's sort of, when it comes down to the fandom of golf, it sort of narrows, it sort of negates a little bit of that, doing what I've done for the last 10 years. Now, for the Ryder Cup, it's completely different. Like, this is like the one event I don't even have to gamble like on it. I can watch this event with no money on it and just go through it and enjoy. I mean, I already practiced last weekend during the Solheim Cup on how I am going to be able to watch it all, because the coverage starts at 1:30 in the morning on the East Coast. It goes to 1 o'clock in the afternoon, basically the first 2 days. So I've already got my plan. I'm off Friday, they're doing my thing. I'm gonna come home Thursday from work, eat 200 milligrams of edibles, pass the fuck out at like 7 o'clock, right? After eating like all those eddies, just pass out, wake up around 1 o'clock, shower, get ready. Day is starting. All right, have my coffee, go in there, and then start drinking. But I'm going to drink, light. I'm going to pace it out throughout the whole day. And so I already have the plan. I'm ready to rock. This is going to be a good time. Let's go over the practice groups from this week. For the United States, what we saw today. Now, again, gamesmanship is a part of the Ryder Cup. What we could see in these practice rounds might not come to fruition, but it looks like a lot of these, it's probably going to happen. So the first pod of 4 for the Team USA that came out today was Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, Patrick Cantlay, Xander Schauffele. You got to expect those guys are going to be teams, right?
I don't think, they don't need to have gamesmanship when it's just like, you beat us. That's who we're rolling out. Yeah, we rolled them out. They're fine. Let's see what happens.
I think you're going to see those teams. There's no doubt. You're going to see Xander Cantlay pairing. You're going to see JT Spieth pairing. I see that happening. I don't think we have to go farther on that. The next pod, Morikawa, Harman, Fowler, Homa. This one's a little bit more iffy. Everyone thinks it's going to be Harman. It's going to be Homa and Cow, right? And so are they planning on Ricky and Harman playing? What do you think of Brian Harman in this type of situation? Everyone says that he is a bulldog, blah, blah, blah. He could do his thing. But the problem is, for this course, okay, being accurate is going to help, but he's the shortest hitter out there. Him and Morikawa are 2 of the shortest guys out there. And the problem with Harman is his mid and long iron game, not the greatest. There's going to be plenty of mid and long iron shots, especially when you get to the back 9, when the pressure's on and the score is close. Little bit worried about Harman. What's your take on him? Do you think that bulldog mentality can overcome a lack of form in certain areas where it might be important this week?
Yeah, I think it definitely can. And we saw him win the Open. Like, again, no one was putting him down for that either, just because of all the other factors and whatnot too. But I just think in general, it's solid that way. On Sunday, he could go out and just dummy someone. Like, that's another thing scoring wise. So you just got to think. The other thing too, Kenny, you got to love seeing him get into this group. What's interesting is what's the Homa Cow thing is the Zurich Classic, right? Like, that's why.
Well, they're both Cow too.
Of course. And then Homa also could be like, I know that there's talk about Koepka for this role too, but Homa could be like the DJ fill in, like Homa's like DJ. You have Kawa that always, that sort of fit well together. Maybe we could see that again. But there's also a scenario where it ends up being Homa and Harman, right? That could also be something. I don't know, but it's just interesting that Harman got into that pod there. The other thing is the Fowler-Harman situation. Like, Fowler said he'd play with Brian Harman. You remember the story back in the day, the quarterfinals?
Oh, yeah.
Remember Ricky did the old walk-off? Yeah. Thought he had him in the bag.
That would be some ironic-ass shit if they're paired together, right?
That story's coming out again for sure, but it is an incredible story. Those who don't know it, it was like, they play down in college and go to the finals and sort of that stuff. This was the quarterfinal round. Ricky thought he had Harman in the bag. He walks off on the hole and leaves Harman behind to make his putt and put his own pin back. And Harman, being the bulldog that he is, was like, nah, fuck that. He even says, he was like, I was pissed. I was pissed off. He goes out and finishes them off. Ricky's like a phenom, like not a phenom, but like the guy that people are expecting to come through here. And Harman just goes and shuts his ass down and says, see you, Ricky. Early exit for you, buddy. So I don't know. Those two playing together could be something, but Homa Kawa still seems like it would make sense together. I'm wondering if there is some gamesmanship there, and Kawa goes with Brooks, and Brooks comes in and fills the DJ role. Because why else is Brooks here? Use him.
Yeah.
Use him up.
Well, Homa is one of my guys I'm looking at strongly. I think he could be top wild card or top captain's pick. I think he could be, I think a top rookie. He comes up third in my model in this event. Homa. Like, he's behind Hovland and Rory. Hovland, Rory, Homa is how my model works for this week. And when you look at Homa's game, excellent. One of the best putters from 5 to 10 feet in this field. You know what I'm saying? Hits a ton of greens. Hits a lot of, like, I didn't realize how long Homa was. Like, he's, out of the 24 golfers, he's 15th in this field in distance off the tee last 50 rounds. He's also 9th, top 10 in accuracy. This is the first time he's playing. He wants to be here. He is the one rookie that I really, really like this week. We'll see who he plays with when it comes down to it. Next pod. It's going to be Scotty, Sam Burns, Koepka, Wyndham Clark. The Koepka-Wyndham Clark pairing interests me. If this course really favors length and they mow down the greens, the fairways a little bit to make it easier for the Europeans who are technically longer than the United States off the tee. Man, that because both of them can putt their asses off. Koepka iron game, when he's dialed in, he could be on. Grinding out hard courses to like walk and shit like that, because this course very hilly, very, very tough walk. That grinder type mentality, Koepka has it. If they go Koepka, Wyndham Clark, that's an exciting team. Like I would definitely want to watch that. And we know Scheffler and Birds probably played together. They're best Jesus friends. They love each other. That's the way it could be. What do you think about that?
Good, man. Shout out Rick Run Good. I think it was in his newsletter, the Run Good Rundown. He called Koepka and Clark the Bash Brothers.
Yeah.
Which is true. I like that call. But then I thought of the other two, the Bible Brothers. You got the Bible Bros and the Bash Bros in the same stuff going together. I mean, that could be a good little setup, and both those teams can crush. So there is some interesting stuff to the American side, barring what we see shake out once we get the actual setup on Thursday. But to me, right now, looking at those, I've got interest in pretty much everything you said, and do like the Homa call as well. He could fill the DJ role, which at that year, I believe DJ filled the captain role. Going back to DraftKings for a second, I believe he was the winning captain. I have to go back and check, but it was, if not, he was up there. He scored well, obviously.
So of the groups that we've seen, the most likely 4 pairings that we're going to see: JT Spieth, Scheffler Burns, Cantlay, and then who knows? That 4th team's going to be the wild card. I think it's going to be Homa. And then we're going to leave. But that leaves Brooks. Are you going to sit Brooks and only play him 3 times? I don't know.
Maybe, might still run him out there right after. That's what I'm saying. I don't know how. Yeah. One thing I want to add, though, Kenny, is the JT Spieth one. I wanted to spend a second on this, and we go to the Europeans and then tie it all together. But the JT Spieth one, like, there's already been comments from Spieth about things getting switched up and all that. Like, again, it probably depends on what happens. If they go out and just boat race in the first, assuming they're together in the first one, they go out and they crush, probably keep them together. But if not, that's where I think you could see a guy like Fowler sub in, or Kawa sub in, or something like that, where it ends up being something different than what we saw in the first. So, again, we'll have to see what these look like when they come out. But I actually could see that group get split up somewhere. We, in the past, I think what we're going to see a lot of this week, going back to DraftKings, is the Cantlay, because X is cheaper than Cantlay by a lot, and you can fit him in the captain, get Cantlay in no problem, and then you can get JT Spieth still and move around from there. That's going to be common. That's going to be super popular. But if you see JT and Spieth, I see, so does everybody, but will they actually do it in their lineups of saying, I see JT and Spieth getting broken up a lot quicker and easier than X and Cantlay. Just keep running them. Like, they got the connection. When they get to alternate shot or whatever, foursome or whatever the difference is for ball, my point is they are the guys that are going to play well in that too. So it's like they're just going to stick them together and say, whatever happens, happens. If you can beat our best combination of 2 guys, go ahead, try it. But we're just going to run that out there and see.
One thing I will say about this U.S. team is it's so deep that it's possible that like only one pairing plays 5 matches. Maybe only like the X-Camera. They would be my favorites in the U.S. side to play all 5. And the way this course is and how deep this team is, you could probably rest guys, have them play only 3 matches the first 2 days and still be okay. That probably isn't the case for the Europeans. For the Europeans, I'd almost guarantee that Rory, Rahm, and Hovland play all 5. Now let's get to the European pods that we saw today. First pod, Rory, Shane Lowry, Sepp Straka, and Tommy Fleetwood. Now, I know a lot of people have been sort of anti-Sepp when it comes down to this, but one of the most accurate drivers in this field. Iron game has been really strong the last 50 or plus rounds. One of the best putters from 5 to 10 feet. I think he is the best putter. I think in the last 6 months in this field from 5 to 10 feet. I know there's parts of his game he's super hit or miss. He's super boomer bust. But if he's coming with, his top-notch game, and he just placed pretty well at Wentworth, if I'm not mistaken. I think he finished top 10. Don't quote me on that. I could be 100% wrong. He is a guy that I think could play 3 matches, and get 3 points this week. And like you said, at that price, where it's like 40-something under,
4,000. 4,200.
He could be that guy. Now, you might only get him for 3 matches, but if you can stack the other ones, or you get all the ones that play 5, 3 wins, like you said with Munoz last year, when you took down that GPP, that's the way you did it. I think Straka could be Munoz this year. We'll see. He could also play 2 matches and lose both by a shit ton, because that's Straka's game.
It was a top 10 though recently. It was the BMW Championship.
It was the BMW at Wentworth, right?
With Hatton was up there, Rom was so put it this way: T2, Hatton, 4th, Rom, Hovland, 5th, Fleetwood, 6th, Rory, T7. Like all these guys wrote.
I was watching that event. At one point in time, there were 7 European Ryder Cup members in the top 10. Like on Saturday and Sunday.
They finished with 7 of them because Aberg and Straka rounded it out. So 7.
Okay, there we go. Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
Lowry was T18. Fitzpatrick was T18.
That's worrisome as a United States fan. Worrisome. Yeah. All right there. But so I mean, everyone has Rory playing with Shane Lowry in that pod. And that leaves Fleetwood and Straka. I don't know about a Fleetwood Straka pairing. It could work because, I mean, they're both so accurate and they both can putt their asses off. It could be a tough matchup right there. You know what I'm saying? If they're going to hit every fairway and make all the putts, except for Fleetwood when, he has pressure on him. Outside of that, they're going to make some putts. That could be a tough little pairing. I don't know if that's the way they're going to go, or if this is, zigging and zagging, trying to get people off the set. Luke Donald. But who do you think Rory's going to be paired with here? Like, I thought Rory was going to be with Aberg, but it's not in the same pod here. But they were in the same interview group the day before.
I think they mess around, Kenny. Here's what I think they should do, and I could be way wrong. People could hate this. I don't care. I think it should be Fleetwood and Hatton together. It should be Rory with Aberg and Rom with Hovland, and then pick your other one. But I'm just saying,
Hovland would be
Rom Hovland, Rory with Aberg, and then you get Fleetwood with Hatton, almost like the Mollywood from back in the day when you sub in Molly to Hatton. Like that to me is 3 tough teams that you got to go up against no matter what.
Those 3 teams, if you stack those up against the top one, Cantlay, Scheffler, Burns, and JT Spieth, I take the Euros.
And then you got Fitz and Rose can play together, which will play good in alternate shot. Yeah. You got Bobby Mack and Højgaard's there and Sepp.
I think Højgaard, Bobby Mack are going to be sort of left on the bench.
Sure.
And that, and I think Sepp could also be there depending on how he's playing. I just think that, this is something you just see Sepp do like crazy shit and win events. You don't think he's going to win.
I like the Sepp call, but to go back to it, I think this is what you're going to go to anyway, but just to say what I think people have is Rom Hatton.
Yeah.
Rory, Lowry, Hovland, Aberg. Like, I don't know what people are actually thinking these are going to be. I don't know how they would do. Like, to me, those
honestly, what the Europeans are doing right now is just causing confusion, because I have no idea what their teams are going to be now. Like, because we saw yesterday they had those interview groups where they did 4 at a time, and all of those are different. Basically for the Europeans. We're going to learn a lot more tomorrow. If we see similar groupings on Wednesday, then, well, that's probably the way they're going to go. But like I said, lots of gamesmanship here. And when it comes down to it, if I'm not mistaken, no, that's the President's Cup, right? Where one team, the home team, picks first, and then the road team picks second, and then we go snake after that. I think that's just President's Cup. I think for the Ryder Cup, they just throw team 1, team 2, teams 3, team 4, and in a envelope, and they just pull out team 1 and pull out team 1, and that's how they do it. So I don't know. I don't know about these European teams. I think Aberg and Hovland are going to play together, just because they have. I saw a video where Aberg speaks Norwegian.
Oh, they were out on the course chilling together. They went out early to another course and were speaking the same language and chatting with each other. I saw this. again, these are still good teams, but when you turn it into Rory and Lowry and Fleetwood and Sepp and things like that, that to me is not as good as those 4 teams that I said that you could roll out, with Fitz Rose being your worst team. That to me was just how I would have done it. But I think everyone assumes Rom Hatton is a lock. Hovland,
well, the thing about Fitz is he's never won a point at the Ryder Cup in 2 Ryder Cups. Now, he is not the same Matthew Fitzpatrick that he was in those 2 Ryder Cups. One was 2016 when he was a little kid, and then the last one was the last Ryder Cup. He still hasn't won a point, but of course he's a different player.
Nobody wants to play him this week either, but like you said,
that's the play, right?
Put on some big boy pants these last couple of years. It's a little bit different, so he wants to step up. We'll see how it goes. I'm not sure how much I'll get. We'll wait and see what the groups are and all that, but to me, definitely right now, it's like nobody wants to play this guy, and he's right there with sandwiched in pricing between Spieth and Ricky Fowler and Justin Thomas. So Spieth JT being the main 2, which means he's for sure getting left out because people just land there and probably have that grouping going anyway, or them as a one-off.
Yep. Next group, Rom, Hovland, Hatton, Aberg. We spoke about that. Rom Hatton is what people think. Aberg, Hovland is what people think. We'll see if that really happens. I mean, can you imagine though that whoever Aberg plays with? I mean, that guy's hot. Like he won what? He won the Czech Masters. He was in the lead on going into Sunday at Wentworth, and now he didn't do that well at that event. And my earpods keep going off here from me, and I can't hear nothing. So give me 1 second. All right. And so, we'll see about that. And then the last grouping is Fitz, Rose, Bobby Mack, Højgaard. I think Bobby Mack and Højgaard, I saw Bobby Mack on the range today. It looked like he was having a rough time. Didn't look like he was having fun at all. Højgaard, he's 1 year. Both of those guys have 1 year. So maybe they go out and play 3, but I don't know.
They're your potential one-off pieces to make stuff work. They're 4,800 and 4,000. Like I said, if you find the right combination of the other spots and you happen to land there, I'm not going to fault you for it. I might do the same. My point is more, you have to know what you're using that money to get to, and then you need that to come through. So you're building for a certain type of, in this case, I'm calling it a game script, but it's a tournament script or a contest script or whatever you want to call it for the Ryder Cup. But it's going to be fun. It's 3 days. It's got all that action. These are the pieces you can use at the bottom. And if they get more or do more, that's just gravy on top, and you get even more out of it that way.
All right. So let's get to these tiers. I mean, we got this 9K range, basically, was what it comes down to. We got Scotty down to Justin Rose. I mean, when you look at ownership here, just off the break, I mean, Rose is going to be your least owned. If he somehow is in that first wave on Monday morning, that could be a decent play. Again, it's sort of hard to go in these tiers and do what we normally do. Basically, what we just did with those pods is explain everything.
Yeah, that's how you're going to build your lineups off what we just talked about. What we could do, Kenny, is quickly talk about ownership thoughts.
Okay.
Because that, to me, matters more. Like we said, okay, who's going to be popular captains? Xander is going to be popular because you can get him in at 12-3 as opposed to paying $13K or more for Hovland, Cantlay, Rahm, McIlroy, Scheffler. I think going down the board, guys like Cantlay, Spieth, JT, all those guys are going to be like the 4 most popular types of pairings people are going to be putting in. And then on the European side, I think it's going to be Hatton, assuming Hatton comes out with Rahm, or it doesn't even matter. If he goes out with Fleetwood, he just becomes like a cheaper version of Xander. And then I do think, last thing I'll say, and I'll let you go, is I do think a captain, there is a potential that JT ends up popular in captain, because assuming he's going out in the first setup with Spieth,
with a really strong performance in the forward net.
Yeah.
And like good rapport, of course, with
more of a price play. People look at it at 10-2. That's if you like Xander at 12-3 for 2,100 less, you got to love JT. And that also allows you to fit Spieth, Xander, Cantlay, and then go from there. So I do think there's something to be said for that. Again, it really matters what these pods look like, especially the European side. But one thing I do know is I think we're going to see a lot more people put these American guys in just because they know they're going to stick together, especially X and Cantlay, and then also the other side. But if you're angling for the European blowout spot in your lineups, like I said, I'm thinking it's going to be Americans and close. That's what I put my money on. But if you are going to angle some lineups, which I am going to build some sets where it's the Europeans just smash them, well, then you're going to get really different because you're oftentimes going to be off those guys completely. Where most people are on X, Cantlay, JT Spieth, you're going to be on the Hovland, Hatton, Fleetwood, whoever you want to take a chance on. Fitzpatrick and Rose as a combo, like different things, whatever you choose in that range. Rahm up top instead of Scheffler or Cantlay, like things like that. So I definitely think there's some good builds here that you could do going that way. But at least that's my thoughts up at captain this week. What are your thoughts on captain spots?
Yeah, I think captain's what I think you're 100% correct. Xander and Hatton, I think, will be the two of the more popular captain's picks, especially if Hatton's paired with Rahm, Xander's paired with Cantlay, and they're going off Friday morning. I see them being the highest owned captains there are. I do like your JT take. We'll see how people go about that. I mean, everyone knows JT struggles. Let's see how the casuals, if they saw him at the Ford.net and see that his game was trending in the right direction at that point in time. I think I think Hovland, no matter what, would probably be like the one high-priced captain that I think would be very, very popular just because of the way he's playing. He's basically become the best golfer in the world in the last couple of months. And I think people will pay up for Hovland, especially if they think the European team is going to win. But that also means that whoever's Hovland's paired up with should get a bump in ownership as well. That's the way I think it's going to flow when it comes to the captain's picks. Now, outside of captain's picks, I mean, most people are going to go with stacking. And so when you go down to the bottom of the price range, that's when you could really start trying to figure out who's going to be popular. And just looking at this, Sam Burns, he's probably going to go out the first day. He's probably going to play with Scheffler. He is probably going. I could see people using him as a captain's pick just so you can get Rahm, Hovland, Scheffler, Cantlay X. Maybe I don't know if you can fit all those guys. But maybe you can if you use Burns as your captain. Now the thing is, I'm not a big fan of that. I especially there. I could see them struggle here a little bit. Like the last time they were out, Burns was actually outperforming Scheffler, and really Scheffler played like ass, and Burns was the one that was holding him together. Now we'll see if that repeats itself, because it definitely could, because of what we've seen. Now, the one thing I would suggest for the United States is if they do pair these guys together, have Scheffler go off on the odd holes. The odd holes this week will have the majority of the approach shots into the green. So because 3 of the par 3s are on odd numbered holes. And in this format, if one guy tees off on one hole, the next hole, the other guy tees off no matter where they finished the hole before. So if the United States is going to play in Burns and Scheffler together, I would suggest for them, I mean, I'm not the captain, it's just a suggestion, that Scheffler plays the odd holes, because then he will be hitting the approach into like 11 of the 18, and he will only have birdie putts in 7 of the 18. And that's not including there's a couple par 5s that are going to be very, very tough to reach. Now, I think Scotty and Burns both have the length to be able to do it, but still. So that's something you could think about when it comes down to it. And maybe I'm overthinking. I don't know.
No, I think it's fine. Again, that's more like the coach's decision, but I think 2 things that you just talked about come from it that I would say is like Burns captain means him and Scheffler crushed. So I would make sure Scheffler's in there, because it means they crushed in matchup 1, and now they're going to stick together. I don't see that thing breaking apart. So you just have to set your lineups up that way. That's how I would do it. If I'm going Burns captain, it seems obvious, but not everyone. Some people are using cheap to get something else in there. I think the only way he is your winning captain is if he absolutely crushes the whole way, and that involves Scotty being with him for the majority of it. So you just pick up all those points along the way. Again, seems obvious within the bubble. It won't be when you go see roster construction, so we got to bring that up. The other thing I thought was interesting that you brought up, just going back, my last captain take, was the Homa play. You brought up earlier, if we do see Homakawa, I could see that being a thing. He is squeezed between JT, and then you've got Spieth right below him, Hatton and Schauffele right above him, and Morikawa as well. So you could do both. But I just can't see a world where Homa and Kawa get as popular as those other guys I just mentioned. So
Yeah.
Homa being the cheaper version, assuming they may stick together too, is a possibility at least for enough matches. And that I do like that. I think Homa can come through in a singles match quite well. Again, not really. Again, people say this would be but what if he goes up against this guy? Yeah, it's golf though, man. Like anything can happen in that format. So I'm not gonna. You're never gonna know. You're not gonna know building out. What if he gets the easiest matchup on the board and absolutely destroys them? That's the whole point. You just don't know until you do. So for me, building it in advance, obviously, I'm going to look at things like that. I think he's a good potential captain squeeze play that people might not be as high on, Kenny.
I think a good pivot off Burns, if you're going to go low, is Lowry. If Lowry does end up playing with Rory and they go out on that first day, and, I would suspect that Rory is going to play well this week because this course, it should fit him. Bent grass greens, he's a good bet putter. He's long off the tee. If they shave, the rough a little bit on that first cut, it should be easier for the team itself. No one's going to play. I mean, if Rory is paired with Lowry, I do expect the ownership to go up a little bit. But, that could be something that you think about when you go down to it. If you want a low-priced captain's pick, that is going to be not as popular as Burns, basically, is what it comes down to. I think Lowry, if you see him in that first match with Rory, I think it's not the worst captain's pick in the world. The ownership's going to be down. He's going to be playing with the best player in the world. On the home course, we've seen Lowry perform at Ryder Cups. I don't have his record. I think he's done okay. I don't think he's been special, but I don't think he's ever had a partner like Rory. So that's somewhere you can go. Now, here's the thing. The middle is where the money's going to be made. You know what I'm saying? The middle of the pricing is where the money is going to be made. And again, my favorite play, of course, is going to be Homa in that range. I just like the way he fits this course. I think that he's going to be really into it. If he's paired with Kawa, they're going to be strong. Hopefully, Kawa is, sneakily. Hold on. Sneakily, Kawa is 13th in this field out of 24 golfers in putts from 5 to 10 feet in the last 50 rounds. He is average from 5 to 10 feet. The majority of your putts are going to come from that range. To save par, and then those tight birdie opportunities that you're going to get. You're going to have 5 to 20 footers all day, basically, is what should happen. Probably, when it comes down to it, especially when it's formal, because, you're going to be able to play a little bit more aggressive depending on where your partner is, and you're going to have some of those short putts. So I do like Homa in that middle type tier. Hatton going to be popular. Spieth is going to be popular. Fitzy is the guy where, his Ryder Cup record is so weak. If he comes out and is paired with Rose, like you said, you see him in the morning, give him a look. Give him a look. Because this is not your typical Matthew Fitzpatrick. This dude has gained some pounds. He can hit the ball pretty fucking far now. And he has iron game hit or miss, but overall it's been on the better side the last couple of years, and he can putt his ass off. So there are some plays in that middle range that you can go off board a little bit instead of playing Hatton, instead of playing JT, instead of playing Aberg down there. Fitzy and Homa.
You get some pairings, right? Like you got Homa, Kawa. There again, we'll see. Based on our speculation, if this happens, I'm saying you've got some Fitzy Roses, you've got some Kawa Homas. These, we don't know if these are going to be what they are. You could still see. I know everyone has Rahm Hatton as a lock, but what if it is Fleetwood Hatton, like the Mollywood type thing? Like, it's definitely a possibility. There's another one. Like, you never know what you're going to see here yet. But what we do know is the ones that we are very likely to see and are going to be very popular is above them, Cantlay and X, and below them in JT and Spieth. We know that. We know Aberg is going to be popular in that middle range. We know Hatton, regardless of who his teammate is going to be popular in that middle range. And at the bottom, we know Lowry, especially if he's with Rory, and Burns, likely with Scheffler. So we know where everybody's going. It's how do you apply it? But the one thing I'll say, the last thing I guess is that I've got on this anyway, is like, again, build it based on what you think happening. Like, I don't understand. Everyone's saying that Europe's going to smash them. And how are you getting Europe at plus money? And it's been 30 plus years and the Europeans never lose on home soil. Yet everything I hear so far is like, we can fit X, we can fit Cantlay, we can fit JT, we can fit Speed. Well, how? If they're getting smashed, they're not scoring you no points. So it's, the pairings, and it's great. And yes, I talked about it earlier. Matches played can outweigh the wins, right? Because you got to be out there. You can still score points in a loss. But my point would still be that the other side is still, if they're crushing them and they're losing their matches, you can just take the guys that are going to get 4 or 5 matches on the other side and pick up all the points that way. So I would definitely say build it towards what you see actually happening here. That's the way you want to do it.
I think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to come down to, just like we saw the Solheim Cup, I think it's going to come down to a point, a half point here or there. I'm going to go, I bet the Europeans, because I think it's a coin flip. And you get plus 185, plus 150, plus 160, whatever you got a couple of months ago on a coin flip. You just take that number. Okay, that's just gambling 101, right? So that's why I took the Europeans, because I think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to be extremely close. It's going to be a battle. It's going to come down to a point here, a half point here. It's going to come down to the last couple of matches on Sunday. And that's how I'm going to be building my lineups. I'm going to have a nice blend of Euros and United States in every lineup, because maybe I'll do like 10 US heavy, 10 Euro heavy, and then my last 40 lineups I'll blend, and that might be the way I do my lineups this week. But I did bet the Europeans. Don't get me wrong, I'm rooting for the United States, but just from a gambling perspective, I think it's going to be a coin flip. So I'm going to go ahead and take the underdog at plus money. I have not made any other bets yet, because I want to wait until I see the pod pairings, and the numbers are going to shift once those pairings come out. So that's something to think about. Like if I think that home is definitely going to play Friday morning, definitely going to play 4 matches, I might bet him now as top rookie, top US captain's pick, top overall captain's pick. That would be where I'm going with my bets. It's going to be home-centric this week for me and the bets, because I do like him. I think he's going to be the man this week that puts the United States over the top. The United States wins 15-13. 15-13.
It's going to be so good. This week is going to be so good.
United States wins
like these
15-13.
Nobody wants to be a part of the first team to lose in forever on European soil. Like, this is a squad, man. You got all these guys over there: Rom, Hovland, Rory, but Fleetwood Hatton are playing 2 of the better players in the world right now. Aberg on top of his game. This team is Fitz much better player than he's ever been. Like you said, Straka's just been doing his thing. I know it's a John Deere win, but he showed up at the Open. He showed up at just recently at this next event. Like, there's all these guys on the European side. They don't want to be part of taking this L. That's for sure.
I do not hate hedging a little bit on a tie. Like if you bet, if you bet, one side, and you get like 14-1 on a tie, I don't hate putting just a little bit on that tie. We saw it happen last week.
Don't put it into existence.
I think it could happen. Well, tie United States retains the cup. Now the win bet would lose. That's something that you have to think about. I think it's going to be that close. I think a tie, if you can get a tie better than 14-1, it might be something you hedge on, because it's going to be tight. It's going to be close. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be so much fun to watch.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm excited for it, Kenny. Let the people know where they can find you, and we can get out of here.
You can find me at gupscorner.com. Use promo code Kenny. Save yourself 30% on a membership to Gups Corner. My article, I'm finishing it up right now. I'll have it out. It'll go over strategy. It'll go over the course. It'll go over the point schedule. And then on Thursday night, after the pairings, I'll have bets, my final betting card there. And then I will also have my favorite plays, GBB plays, on there. So go to gupscorner.com, and they're crushing it especially college football. There's guys winning 5 figures every fucking week in college football. It's pretty fucking incredible what they're doing over there at Dub's Corner when it comes to football, NFL, college. They got it all. Go check it out.
Yeah, you can find me on X. Now they put it in brackets, formerly Twitter, at Toe Tag and Tambo. No tidbits for the Ryder Cup, but every week the tidbits are coming out now for NFL. So week 4 will be posted on Friday morning. You guys can check that out. Help me out, repost it, send it out, move it around. That helps. We do contests on that stuff all year round, big giveaways, stuff like that. Follow me there, repost that. And then our new sponsor, ShipItNation.com. You guys can find me there, co-founder of the site, myself and Hoop. Great site. It's got all the sports, NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, MMA. And then, of course, if you want my PGA stuff like this week for the Ryder Cup, all the premium stuff will be there. So I was taking notes as I go, just little thoughts and tidbits and ideas that once I look into them a little bit more, I'll have my final thoughts over on the site. That's just PGA. We got NBA coming up soon, projections, ownership, everything you need for that. NHL is coming up. We got NFL on the go as well. This is the anniversary of Hoop winning the Millie, so check it out. ShipItNation.com. Use promo code Mayo. Get yourself 10% off any of the monthly plans.
All right, it's going to be a great week. It's fucking Ryder Cup week. I believe that we will win. Let's win some motherfucking money. Degeneration. Go USA.
I've been getting dirty money, Jordan Belfort. Stacking penny stocks while I'm flipping these birds. Sipping on Ciroc, trip 'em up.